There is a song that Italy has never forgotten, Notti Magiche, Magic Nights. Written for the 1990 World Cup, played before every match, heard in living rooms and piazzas and bars across a country that had stopped doing anything else for a month. Italy was the host. Italy was expected to win. And for 22 extraordinary days, in June and July of 1990, a nation lived and breathed inside the story of a team that had come from nowhere to carry everything. The face of that summer was not the face anyone had predicted. Salvatore Schillaci, Totò, had been the third-choice striker entering the tournament. A Sicilian kid from the working-class Calza district of Palermo, who had never scored for Italy before the World Cup began. He scored 6 times in 7 matches. He won the Golden Boot and the Golden Ball. His eyes, wide, disbelieving, wild with a joy he had no vocabulary for, became the image of an entire summer. But very few people today know the full story of what happened to those players after the Magic Nights ended, who built careers that dwarfed what they did in 1990, who struggled in the silence that follows the loudest summer of your life, and which ones are no longer here to remember it at all. This is the story of Italy 1990, the Notti Magiche. And this is the answer to the question nobody wants to ask. Is anyone still alive? Italy had won the World Cup in 1934, 1938, and 1982. They were one of only 2 nations, alongside Brazil, to have won it 3 times. The pressure of hosting was not simply performance. It was destiny. A country that had spent 4 years telling itself this was finally the year. Coach Azeglio Vicini assembled one of the most talented Italian squads since 1982. Franco Baresi was at the absolute peak of his powers. The sweeper from AC Milan, whose reading of the game was so advanced that opponents described facing him as trying to solve a problem that changed shape every time you thought you understood it. Paolo Maldini, his Milan teammate, was 21 years old and already the finest left-back in the world. A defender of such elegant, instinctive quality that watching him play felt less like watching football and more like watching someone prove the game did not have to be ugly. In midfield, Carlo Ancelotti brought the winning mentality of an AC Milan side that had just won back-to-back European Cups. Roberto Donadoni was the tireless engine, Giuseppe Giannini the creative link. Up front, Italy had Gianluca Vialli and Roberto Baggio, 2 players of such obvious quality that Vicini's problem was not finding talent, but managing expectation. Vialli had just been Serie A's top scorer for Sampdoria. Baggio was 23 and already being called the best Italian footballer since Platini. His transfer from Fiorentina to Juventus had caused riots in Florence. Supporters burning cars in the streets because the player they loved most had been sold. And behind them, on the bench, almost invisible, Salvatore Schillaci. Third-choice striker, 1 cap, 0 goals. The whole country held its breath. Notti Magiche played. The Magic Nights began. Italy's opening match was against Austria in Rome's Olimpico in front of 72,000 people. Vicini started Vialli in attack. The match was goalless with 12 minutes remaining. He sent Schillaci on. 78 minutes. A cross from the right. Schillaci bent his run, headed the ball in. Those eyes went wide. Italy won 1-0. But the most dramatic chapter was still ahead. Against Czechoslovakia, Schillaci scored again. Against Uruguay in the round of 16. Against Ireland in the quarterfinals, a composed finish that sent 70,000 Romans into delirium. Each goal accompanied by those eyes. The expression of a man who could not quite believe what was happening and made no attempt to hide it. Meanwhile, Vialli, the man supposed to be the star, had missed a penalty against the United States, scored nothing, and been dropped in favor of the substitute who had come on for him. Schillaci had scored from Vialli's assist in the first game. Now Schillaci was starting, and Vialli was watching. Semi-final. Argentina. The Olimpico. One of the most charged atmospheres in World Cup history. Schillaci scored. Italy led. The country was 27 minutes from a World Cup final on home soil. Then Argentina equalized. Extra time. Penalties. Goicoechea saved from Donadoni. Argentina went through. The Olimpico fell silent. Italy beat England 2-1 in the third-place match. Schillaci scored his sixth from the spot. He won the Golden Boot and the Golden Ball. He went home with a bronze medal, and the knowledge his country had needed one more thing he could not give them. The song played one last time. The magic nights were over. What happened to the tournament's biggest star surprised everyone who assumed 6 World Cup goals would open every door in football. Toto Schillaci returned from 1990 as the most famous person in Italy. His face was everywhere. The boy from the Calza district of Palermo, where poverty and football were the only constants, was suddenly on every screen in the country. And then, almost as quickly as the summer had come, the performances began to fade. He continued at Juventus for 2 more seasons, scoring respectably but never recapturing the state of grace that had produced 6 goals under the most intense pressure the game can generate. He moved to Inter Milan in 1992. Goals came, but not enough, and not with the wild-eyed certainty of the man who had seemed unable to miss in 1990. Then, in 1994, he made a decision nobody understood. He signed for Jubilo Iwata in Japan's newly formed J-League. He won the J-League title in 1997. He came home to Palermo. He opened a youth football academy in the Calza district, the neighborhood where he had grown up with nothing, and ran it for decades. He appeared on television. He gave interviews about 1990 whenever anyone asked, which was always. In 2022, Schillaci was diagnosed with colon cancer. In September 2024, he was admitted to hospital in Palermo. On September 18, 2024, Salvatore Schillaci died. He was 59 years old. Italy's prime minister issued a statement. Inter Milan and Juventus sent tributes. The FIFA president wrote that the magic nights of Italia '90 had been Schillaci's nights. His daughter Jessica published a memoir about her father in September 2025. Its title, Only I Can Write About You, Memories of a Champion Father. Toto Schillaci came from the poorest neighborhood in Palermo, scored 6 goals in a World Cup his country hosted, and died 59 years old in the city where he was born. The song played at his funeral. In a way, it had always been playing for him. The losses did not stop with Schillaci. Gianluca Vialli had been the tournament's great disappointment, not objectively, but in the specific sense that he was the man whose gifts had been most visible before 1990 and least expressed during it. He had arrived as the star striker and left as the man replaced by a substitute nobody had heard of. He knew it. He said so for the rest of his life with the disarming honesty of someone who had made peace with a wound by refusing to pretend it was not there. What he did afterward was extraordinary. He moved to Juventus for a world record fee and won the Serie A title, the UEFA Cup, and the Champions League in 1996. He moved to Chelsea in 1996, became player manager in 1998, and won the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. He became, in England, a figure of profound affection. The Italian with the shaved head and the warm smile, who had embraced a cold London winter and seemed to be having more genuine fun than anyone expected. Few people knew what he was going through in 2018 when he confirmed he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He described it as an unwelcome travel companion. Not a battle, but a companion he had not chosen. He went into remission. He came back. In 2019, he joined Roberto Mancini's coaching staff for the Italian national team, reunited with his oldest friend, the man he had played alongside at Sampdoria, and called his brother in everything except blood. On July 11th, 2021, Italy beat England on penalties in the Euro 2020 final at Wembley. Vialli walked onto the pitch and embraced Mancini. They had won together. The summer of 1990 had denied them the final. This summer, in London, they had it. 9 months later, the cancer returned. His family flew to London. On January 5th, 2023, Gianluca Vialli died. He was 58 years old. Roberto Mancini wept at the press conference. Chelsea flew their flags at half-mast. Schillaci and Vialli, two men from the same squad, the same summer, the same song, gone within 14 months of each other. The survivors of the 1990 squad have followed paths as consequential as anything they achieved on those magic nights. Roberto Baggio, 23 in 1990, the rising star who would go on to carry Italy to the 1994 World Cup final almost single-handedly, lives quietly near Vicenza. He practices Buddhism. He gives almost no public interviews. In June 2024, 5 armed men broke into his home while he watched Italy play at the European Championship. He was struck on the head, robbed of trophies from his playing career. His family was unharmed. He spoke about it months later at a sports summit in Dubai. Calm, philosophical, without self-pity. He is 58 years old. He is still here. Franco Baresi is 82 years old and the global ambassador of AC Milan, the club where he spent his entire professional career. He appears at every important occasion, lends his face to every significant event the institution marks. He is the keeper of the club's memory. One of the 2 or 3 finest defenders the sport has ever produced. He is still here. Paolo Maldini played until he was 40, winning 5 Champions Leagues with Milan. He became technical director at the club in 2018, overseeing a significant rebuilding of the club's fortunes. He was dismissed in 2023 in circumstances that caused considerable controversy, his departure announced by the American ownership while the team celebrated winning the Scudetto. He is in his late 50s. He is still here. Italian football still considers his dismissal one of its most inexplicable recent decisions. Carlo Ancelotti played 3 matches in 1990 as a midfielder and became, in the decades after, the most successful manager in Champions League history. 4 titles, with AC Milan twice and Real Madrid twice. He has won league championships in Italy, England, France, Germany, and Spain. At 65, still working at the highest level, he is the most decorated figure to emerge from that 1990 squad. The midfielder nobody remembers became the manager everyone talks about. Roberto Mancini, Vialli's oldest friend in the 1990 squad but without a minute of playing time, managed Inter Milan, Manchester City, and then the Italian national team. With Italy, he won UEFA Euro 2020. He and Vialli embraced at Wembley. 9 months later, Vialli was gone. Mancini left the Italian job in 2023 to manage Saudi Arabia. He is still working. The tournament may have ended, but their legacy still lives in football history. Italia 90 is remembered simultaneously as one of the most defensively cautious World Cups in history and the most emotionally intense of its era. The lowest goals per match average. A final decided by a single penalty. Critics at the time called it the death of attacking football. And yet, the song. Schillaci's eyes. Vialli's tears. Gaza crying when he received the yellow card. The penalty shootout in the Olimpico. These images have proven more durable than any tactical criticism. People who watched Italia 90 do not remember the statistics. They remember how it felt. Football has always known that emotion and quality are not the same thing, and that one can survive in memory where the other cannot. Italia 90 was not beautiful. It was felt. And the players who produced those feelings, who scored in front of 70,000 people with a nation watching, who missed penalties while a country held its breath, carried that weight for the rest of their lives. Schillaci carried it until 2024. Vialli carried it until 2023. They died within 14 months of each other, both still synonymous in the public mind with those nights. The survivors carry it still. Ancelotti winning Champions Leagues. Maldini watching from the outside. Baggio in Vicenza, living quietly, having his trophies stolen in the night. Baresi at every Milan occasion, the living memory of a generation. For one unforgettable month in Italy, Notti Magiche played every night, and a country believed it was about to win everything. They did not win everything, but the song is still playing. And the eyes, those eyes, are still watching.